Bread and butter to me means they are common, relatively common. They're not the prestige brands, they're not the slam dunks, they're the brands that you sell and find relatively often, and they have a decent median sales price overall. 511 Tactical is a pretty safe bet as long as you watch your buy cost. That's going to be true of all these brands. They make tactical clothing, which is clothing that's made often of ripstop fabric. That's where the fabric has a grid of stitching in it, little squares that makes the fabric a little bit more durable. They tend to be covered in cargo pockets. They tend to be mesh vented. They're kind of similar to fishing clothing, and or it is rather similar to fishing clothing. Some of it, if you look up the style codes, will be worth above average money. I would say if you find 511 at the bins, meaning the Goodwill outlet where everything is cheaper, if you find it at a garage sale or somewhere where you can get clothing for, I would say, under a couple bucks a piece, probably just pick it up. It's probably pretty safe. Basic t-shirts and less nice pieces are going to sell for less money. That's also true of all these brands. Right now, shorts, outerwear, meaning jackets, coats, vests, are doing well. So are jeans, sweaters, and swimwear. The only category that is low right now is t-shirts. Ariat is way above average sell-through. This is actually one of the best brands that I would consider a bread and butter brand. I do find it, or did find it rather, relatively frequently, and it is relatively foolproof. It's 156% sell-through with an average sale price of between 25 and 50 bucks, which is pretty strong. All the categories are at least medium healthy. Most of it is in the high sell-through category. This is one of the best bread and butter brands, in my opinion. Bonobos is arguably fast fashion. Technically, I think it's a mall brand. The dividing line between those two categories is very vague. And there's a bunch of Bonobos that does really well. All of it is decent sell-through right now. There are no categories that are in low sell-through. Again, watch your buy cost, and a lot of it is not going to sell for big money, but some of it does sell for pretty good money. I have had excellent luck selling Hawaiian shirts in Bonobos, especially for some reason pineapple print. I have learned in the comment sections of these videos that apparently this is some kind of swinger signaling thing, the pineapple print. That's my interpretation. I didn't really do any Google searches on that, but that might be the case. So pineapple print Hawaiian shirts, regardless of brand, may be strong during swinger season. But Bonobos has been very kind to me over the years, and linen has done quite well. Sorry if you're jiggling. Linen has done really well for me in Bonobos. Polo shirts are in crazy demand at the moment. Carhartt was on that video list, the video list from a couple years back, the top 20 men's clothing brands. And it's no longer top 20 for me, but in terms of bread and butter brands, it's one of the best. Anything made of canvas, anything that's a jacket a little bit heavier and nicer will be worth more money. Jeans are a low sell-through at the moment for some reason, but I would say pretty much all this brand is safe. Even basic shirts and such things. It's popular with all different kinds of people for different reasons. It's been adopted by fashion people and streetwear people, artisanal brewers, and if you find overalls, those can be worth crazy money. It's just all good. It's all good. Most of it is not great, but most of it is good. Cinch is kind of like a lesser Ariat. It's Western clothing. The logo is a guy cinching. A guy in a horsey. It's a horsey brand. Overall, pretty good. There's certain things in Cinch that will sell more quickly than others right now. Dress shirts, hoodies, pants, and shorts are low sell-through. It's not worth a ton, it's just solid. Like if I found it at the bins, I wouldn't even bother to look it up, I would just grab it. Diesel has a couple of asterisks next to it. It's a good brand, it's not a great brand. The jeans definitely tend to be pretty good, and it varies from cut to cut. I think, if memory serves, yes, the satiny cut has been my favorite. Certain cuts sell well, certain cuts don't. Diesel jeans, if you find them for cheap, I would just grab them. not all diesel is created equal. The sell-through on like the shirts and stuff can be kind of weak. Although right now it's doing well. There's nothing in the low sell-through category. I would look it up before you buy it, but if you find nicer pieces like leather jackets or denim jackets or jeans, I would probably just get it. All this data is being pulled off of the Menswear Manifesto, which is a free / pay what you want digital product that I put out. It's a list of 401 men's clothing brands that are broken down category by category. Tells you how much they're worth. I give you notes about what to buy and what to avoid. And there's a link to that in the description if you want even more brands. It is pay what you want. If you feel that you will get value out of this and that you will make money off of it, I ask that you please do give me something for it. If you want to try it out and then circle back around and buy me a coffee, the links to that are in the description, and that's perfectly fine. Duluth Trading Co. is another one that was on that top 20 brands list, and it fell off relatively soon after that video came out. I say fell off, but you know, it's still a good brand. Like, there are certain items in Duluth Trading Co. that do quite well. Like, I've had great luck with the cargo shorts, and shorts are in high demand right now. Just another brand to watch your buy cost on, and if you find something that's really plain and basic and not in a good size, it's like size small or maybe a medium t-shirt or something, maybe I would be a little skeptical. But if you find it for really cheap, or if you find it in big sizes, if you find fishing shirts, if you find nicer jackets, it's pretty safe money. FootJoy is a golf brand, one of the golf brands that I ran into most frequently, and it is pretty decent. As with all golf brands, most of the catalog is polo shirts, and the polo shirts do pretty well. This is the time of the year to be selling, golf clothing. FootJoy polo shirts tend to not sell for a ton of money. There are exceptions. The size will be in a little circle next to the FJ logo on the tag. A lot of people miss it because they think it's a trademark logo or a trademark. Trademark mark. Plus sizes are your friend. The other stuff in the brand is fairly good. Hoodies, shorts, and sweaters are high sell-through at the moment. Casual shirts and outerwear are a low sell-through. The rest of it is medium, just generally good. The polo shirts will not flip right away typically, unless you kind of get lucky or unless you price it way down. This is an excellent brand for the bins. Fox Racing is pretty close to the top of my list in terms of decent bread and butter brands. If you find the motocross jerseys, any kind of jersey with the big Fox logo on it, those sell really well. Almost everything in Fox I think is worth picking up. It never sells for very much money, or very rarely sells for much money. Most of the stuff that you find, you're gonna flip for certainly under 30 bucks, probably under 25, including shipping. So be really careful with Fox. If you find it new with tags, that stuff should do really well. G-Star is pretty hit or miss. I include it here because there are lots of items that I would be relatively confident flipping. I think the three big ones are probably jackets, jeans, which is probably what you're gonna find the most because it's a denim company, and shirts, like button-up shirts in really big sizes or with big, gaudy, tacky designs. But like I said, you're probably best off with the jeans. Everything outside of jeans can be a little tricky. J. Crew obviously is a mall brand. I include it on the list, again, mostly for emotional reasons more than rational ones, just because I sold so much of it over the years. And it ebbs and flows, it waxes and wanes in popularity and value. Right now, it's kind of at ebb tide. It's not that good. 29% sell through and average sales price of under 25 bucks. I just like it, and it's kind of one of the mental set points for me for a bread and butter brand. There are pieces in J. Crew that you can make over 100 bucks with. The thing that pops to mind is the Ludlow jackets. Like if you find a 100% linen Ludlow jacket, you should stand a chance of flipping that for over 100 bucks, especially right now. The Ludlow jackets generally are good sellers. The suits do well. If you find two-piece suits, those can be worth some good money. And there's a lot of it that is just middle of the road money. If you find it at the bins, you could throw it up in your store and eventually stand to profit like 10 bucks off of it. There's just tons of stuff in that brand that meets those criteria. James Perse, also called Standard James Perse, is doing really well right now. 105% sell-through rate with a average sales price of 25 to 50 bucks, which is pretty good. It's a mall brand, slightly higher end mall brand. It's just really healthy. The only thing that is in low sell-through right now is swimwear, and I assume that will change as summer progresses. If you find it for cheap, I would just grab it. John Varvatos I've done quite well with. Be careful of the button-up shirts because they have always been really touch and go. If you find Henley shirts, if you find t-shirts, generally those have always been good. They've always sold really well. The Varvatos t-shirts, oftentimes made with semi-sheer fabric, have always been really strong sellers. Sweaters, hoodies, and swimwear are doing especially strong right now. But like I said, be careful with the dress shirts and the casual shirts. Lacoste, you're gonna find polo shirts for the most part, and those are in really healthy demand. You can sometimes find them for cheap. It's European sizing on a lot of it. So if you look up a chart, like a size chart for Lacoste, it'll tell you what the American equivalent is. From numerical to the letter system, and I would put both in the titles. Price competitively, and it should sell relatively reliably, and it is polo shirt season, so it should be pretty kind to you. If you find vintage Lacoste, that stuff is not in insane demand, but it can be worth some good money. Oftentimes it'll be Izod Lacoste. That's the only condition in which I will pick up Izod anything, or would pick up anything. Lucky Brand is on here and Levi's isn't. Lucky Brand is a denim company primarily, although they do the whole range of menswear, and it's included here over Levi's because it is smaller and a little bit more straightforward. There are verticals in Levi's that are definitely bread and buttery, but it gets really fractionated down to specifics. So I can't say Levi's is generally good. I can say Lucky Brand generally is fairly good, but you gotta watch out for the low sell-through categories, and there are a lot of them. Stick to jeans for really cheap, and you should be pretty good. I would say if you find Lucky Brand jeans for like a couple bucks, you're probably in pretty good shape. And there are other categories in Lucky that do pretty well. Another good bins brand. Mountain Hardwear is kind of a lower end outdoor brand. It's still decent, and you find it, or I found it fairly frequently, and it was okay. Great bins brands. If you find jackets, those can be worth some good money, especially Gore-Tex jackets. There are lines in Mountain Hardwear that are pretty good. The general vanilla pieces are not going to be worth a ton, so watch your buy cost. Not the best outdoor brand, but it's a good bread and butter brand. If I'm including Nike, I probably should have included Levi's. I guess I kind of have included Levi's. But Nike consistently will offer you a bunch of shots at solid sales, and there's a bunch of stuff in Nike that is worth way above average money. Always look up the style code. You'll find it on the care tags. It'll be a string of numerals with a dash and then a shorter string of numerals. The first little chunk of numbers is the style code, like the actual piece, the name of the piece, and then after the dash is the color code. So if you look up the whole thing and you don't get results, just look up the first part and it may yield the name. And anything that you find with like a modifier on the name, like Aero React, Nike is really good, something like that. Look up the style code, because some of that stuff is worth way above average money and will be high sell-through. And there are certain things in Nike that are really bread and buttery, like the Nike Pro line. Another thing that kind of waxes and wanes, comes and goes in popularity, but is generally decent. And the Nike SB, which stands for skateboard line or skateboarding, also pretty solid. Peter Millar, there are things in Peter Millar that definitely are way above bread and butter, like Summer Comfort, Crown Comfort. I would say anything with Crown in the name, look it up, because there's a good chance that it's high sell-through, but just Peter Millar Standard is decent. It's a golf brand, and it follows all the sales trends of most golf brands. It's most popular right now through the summer, and polo shirts and golf pants, stuff like that will sell pretty well. Prana arguably is above bread and butter, but it's in this list because it's really uneven. There are certain things in Prana that sell really well, like long pants and shorts, especially the Brion and Zion pants and shorts. And there's certain things like the button-up shirts that are just all over the map. So you have to be smart with Prana, but generally worth looking up. And also this is a brand that if I found it for less than a couple bucks, I would just get it regardless. I've sold basic workout t-shirts and stuff like that. And if you can find it for really cheap like that, I would just grab it. Some of you may be pissed off by the fact that Robert Graham is in the bread and butter list. I consider it a bread and butter brand. I don't think it's really that strong. I don't think the hype around Robert Graham is as intense as it was a couple years back. Certainly when I started reselling, it was everybody's favorite brand, but it's the demand has fallen and the supply has really glutted on the market. So it's a lot of it is not worth all that much. You're gonna find for the most part the flip cuff and flip collar button-up shirts or dress shirts, and those are decent. Those are like a decent bread and butter piece. If you find the right one, it can be worth a ton, but most of it is going to be worth maybe around like 30 bucks or so, all told. Unless you want to price it up and sit on it for a long time, which is perfectly fine. But just don't be too seduced by Robert Graham. Travis Mathew, another golf brand. One of the better bread and butter brands, I think. This is on the higher end. Another instance of you're probably just going to find polo shirts for the most part. I've had good luck flipping all of it. I've had great luck flipping the shorts, the long pants. Jeans are over 2XL for right now. I don't know that I've ever found Travis Mathew jeans, but if you do, pick them up. Watch your buy cost, especially with the polo shirts. There is a ton of competition for Travis Mathew, but if you find it for cheap, definitely pick it up. True Religion is a little bit like Robert Graham in that people consider it a luxury-ish brand or like a really high dollar hot ticket brand. I haven't had the spectacular success with True Religion that some people have. You have to, again, like Diesel, find the right cut of jeans, and some of it is worth hundreds of bucks. There is definitely a pretty high ceiling in terms of the profit that you could make. The everyday pieces that you're going to find, even the jeans, I think most of it is probably going to sell for middling amounts, but it is decent. And let's end on Untuckit, which is way on the high end of bread and butter. Arguably, it's beyond bread and butter. I consider it bread and butter just in terms of my subjective experience of having sold it, because I did find it quite often, and it never sold for like a ton of money, and it didn't sell all that rapidly a lot of the time. You are most likely to find the shirts. They have style names on the care tags, which makes it a little easier. You don't really have to look them up. You don't have to look up numbers. It just says the cut. In my experience, the name of the cut isn't all that important. It's more about size and style and fabric. The shirts just are decent, middle of the road sellers. And there's not a big opportunity to make above average money with Untuckit, but it's reliable, it's solid. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of brands that could have been on this list. They are in the manifesto, so if you want more ideas for stuff, middle of the road brands like this to pick up, then check out the manifesto. I'm sure everybody has a different list mentally of bread and butter brands. It largely has to do with what you personally find in your area and what you have experience with selling and what is in your comfort zone. So this is not meant to be like an authoritative list. This is my personal list. I hope it helps, and good luck.